Hello everyone, it's me Matt Curtis, and today I'm coming live from Thornbridge Brewery in Derbyshire, but I'm not with someone from Thornbridge Brewery. I'm with Max Vaughan here, who's from White Peak Distillery, just down the road in Ambergate.
Yep.
Max, how are you?
Very good, yeah. Good. Nice to be here.
We've been having a bit of fun today, haven't we? We've been filming some content for White Peak, talking about your process, which is interesting because you're quite invested in beer making. So I'd really like to hear from you, and I'm sure the people watching would like to hear what makes White Peak different and a little bit about the origins of the distillery.
Yeah, so it's been a great day so far.
Yeah.
Love spending time at Thornbridge, and obviously our business is closely linked with them in ways we'll come on to. But we're the first whisky distillery in this Peak District region in Derbyshire, and we have been going for about 9 years now. But yeah, when we started, we were kind of given some really great advice by a couple of people because whiskey, the making of whiskey is such a long cycle, is to think about where we might be in the kind of whiskey universe in 5 or 6 years' time, because it took 2 years to build the distillery. And then our first batch was certainly 4 years after we started making. And so some of the things we thought about in the very early days were, how are we going to be different in that marketplace? And I think there was there's been an increase in consumer interest generally in provenance of their food and drink. So we thought, well, let's try and make a whiskey that somehow speaks of being made in Derbyshire.
Brilliant. One of the ways you're doing that is using the yeast from here, from Thornbridge, the Jaipur yeast. And I will say, I do have a pint of Jaipur on the go. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you're using the yeast?
Yeah, so whiskey making, we start off essentially by making a beer. The quality is nowhere near as good as what Thornbridge make, because we're making a beer that's going to be good for distilling to make a good whiskey, and those are different focuses. But decades ago, it was quite common for distilleries to use spent brewer's yeast from their neighbouring brewery in their own fermentations. And we've essentially rejuvenated what has been an established craft in whiskey from centuries ago. And so we use spent brewer's yeast, the yeast they use for making Jaipur, in our whiskey making process. We've been doing that since day one, so for the last 7.5 years, every single drop of whiskey we've ever made has got some DNA of Jaipur and Thornbridge Brewery within it.
It's brilliant, and the new whiskey you've just released has got more than just the Jaipur DNA, as you call it. This is necessary evil finish. I'm going to hold this to the camera so you can see it. This is the third release of this, I think.
Yeah.
And this has been aged in Thornbridge Necessary Evil Imperial Stout barrels that were aged in your whiskey barrels. So there's like a cycle. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this very special whiskey?
Yeah, so like I say, this is the third time that we've done this Necessary Evil finish. The first one was in 2022. Thornbridge make this great Imperial Stout. It's really strong, it's got a lot of personality, 13% ABV. And they barrel age it typically for 8 to 9 months. And so when they dump the stout from the barrels, we'll get a phone call from the brewery to say, we've got some empties here, Max. And we are then finishing our whiskey in those stout barrels. And it's great in terms of, again, just extending this collaboration we've got with Thornbridge Brewery. And in fact, that started off initially with us getting barrels from Thornbridge, and then with this latest version, they were using our whiskey barrels to mature their stout and then sending them back to us. So this time around, these barrels have been kind of up and down the A6 a couple of times.
It's brilliant. I've just tried this for the first time, and it's really fascinating because a strong Imperial Stout has a lot of savoury flavours, umami, salinity, and this whiskey has a sort of sweet, savoury hybrid. I think it's fantastic. You said you're not quite at the quality of Thornbridge yet. I dispute that. I think what you're doing is incredibly exciting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what comes next.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Well, it's certainly one of our favourites. I think just it's because of that relationship we have with Thornbridge, and frankly, we're fortunate as a young business to have such a great brewery down the road. But it's just great to kind of cement that relationship and Derbyshire in our whisky.
It's brilliant. Thanks, Max. And if you want to learn a bit more about White Peak Distillery, you can go to pelliclemag.com. You can read an article I've written, and we did a podcast about a year ago, which is a bit like this, but with a lot more juicy information about the distillery. I think I'm going to enjoy this pint of Jaipur now, Max. How about you?
Cheers.
Cheers.